Hi everybody, I hope I'm audible there. So I'm Hasini Lakshminarayanan. I'm 13 years old, I'm a social entrepreneur and I'm a TED speaker. This is my third TED. We've been given a wonderful topic to talk about today. A change in one's way of thinking, a change in one's life after a thought. And this is the thought which has brought in a different way of thinking in my life. For things to change, I must change first. I would like to begin my talk with a very simple question. There are 5 frogs which are sitting on a lily pad, and one of these frogs decide to jump off from that lily pad into the pond. I can repeat myself. So there are 5 frogs. They are sitting on a lily pad, and one of these frogs, they decide to jump off from that lily pad into the pond. So now the question is, if someone could tell me, if how many of these frogs are still sitting on that lily pad? Well, I'm going to give you a moment to think. Okay, so yeah. If you practically think, do maths and stuff, okay, let's do it together now. 5 in the hand. If one decides to jump out, 5 minus 1, 4, right? But then the reality is that there are still 5 frogs sitting on the lily pad. Now this might sound practical, not very much practical. I'm going to request all of you to visualize the same scenario in your mind. Every morning you wake up, you decide to complete this particular task. But the question is, do you actually complete it by the end of the evening? As students, I feel like we can relate to this very much easily. But in general too, right? We decide to complete a particular task, and by end of the evening, looking back, we realize that, oh yes, I forgot. So this is a common practice which I believe all of us would have gone through. And the same scenario has happened in this story as well. And I named this story the frog story. There's this saying, knowing is knowing and doing is doing. All of us know what we want to do, what gives us happiness, what we are passionate about, what we enjoy doing. We also plan, we construct it up in here, if how we are going to execute it by this time, and our strategies, our plans, everything is wise. But the question comes when it comes to execution. Most of us lack when it comes to action. And action matters, and through this frog story, that's exactly what I'm trying to convey. Just deciding doesn't make it complete, right? And I've been in the same position too. I'm just going to walk you through my journey, simply sharing the thoughts which has, brought in a change in my life. To begin with, I was in 4th grade. That's typically when I was in this event in a school. The chief guest of the day was Sujit Kumar sir. He was the founder of Matram Foundation. He has given a talk, so he was the chief guest of the day. And listening to the talk, the only thing which I realized is that I just want to be like him one day. Just being a 9th grader, till date, he's my first inspiration. I want to be one of the finest speakers and inspiration and stand out like him. Because he grabs all of our attentions in just a minute. And, he's just too inspirational and just wanted to be like him. But then for the next couple of years, I really didn't execute it well, didn't do something productively to actually, me taking practices towards public speaking or whatever, let's say. Few years passed. As I mentioned, I didn't do something productive to actually continue it. Then the lockdown occurred. Now, lockdown has been a turning point. It has been worse. Yes, I'm aware about it. But then it has been a turning point in my life, because that's when I realized that this is my true calling. This is my true happiness. My journey basically started out of boredom. I was very much bored, and that too I realized that only after watching every single Netflix series which was available. Well, yeah, I'm being very honest, yeah. And that's when I went to my dad. I asked him if I can do something productively for, this Father's Day. And also there was this thing which was going in my mind, right? I love interacting with people. I love meeting new people, surrounded with people in as well. And when the lockdown occurred, I just felt like there is going to be this loss of social communication. You can't really have it virtual, even though you make phone calls and stuff. It's just not going to happen. And, my dad came up with this project, interviewing children, interviewing people for Father's Day. We documented these videos, we edited them, and then we posted these online, and we surprised their fathers on Father's Day. So it was just a very small project which we initially started back in 2020. And when I was done with it, I just realized one thing, that social communication can happen virtually too. Even quicker, even efficiently. You might miss a bit of personal touch, but it can happen, even faster and quicker. And that's when I realized that I've broken a very own belief of mine. Just putting it all up together, as I really wanted to continue interacting with new people. I've always wanted to be an inspiration. I loved interacting with people. I love listening to, talks of people, their journeys, their stories. We came up with this small concept, interviewing young achievers. I started interviewing children who've achieved at a young age and started posting it on my social media. So that's pretty much it. That was my first step, and it has showed a pathway to me, into me looking as one of the finest speakers, somewhere in the next few years. Let's say one good inspiration for the youth, and I'm pretty sure I will succeed in my dreams further on. Another thought which I've realized for the past 1.5 years is that when you shoot your action, it isn't always necessary that you win, you accomplish everything which you wish for in the very first glance. It might take a couple of tries, you might come across challenges, hurdles, you might come across failures in as well. And one thing which I've noticed through a survey in this generation is that most of us, when we know that something isn't going to work out, we hook up to the next thing, and then we just start investing into that particular field. And when you fail again, you move on to the next thing. But then let me tell you, every successful person would have faced failures, and that's one of the major reasons why they are successful today. And the reason why I'm saying this is because when you face a failure, that's typically when you know if what you're doing, if you're doing it correctly, if that's how we are supposed to do it, every single thing. So when you face a failure, when you come across challenges, when you go through hurdles, just be ready for it, and just have a smile that you're going to learn something new today, something which you weren't aware of. And to share a story of one of the successful personalities who stand this phrase better than anyone, the inventor of bulb. Now, most of you might have known him already, Thomas Alva Edison. So it is said to be that he invented the bulb the 9,999 times he ever tried to do it. And when the reporters asked him about it, he just simply replied saying that I learned how not to invent a bulb 9,998 times. And that's the power of a true successful personality, isn't it? I always say that beliefs are either meant to be broken or to be carried away with. I've broken beliefs throughout the past 1.5 years, and this is another young belief which I broke. I've been branded as a child who can't, master one particular course. See, I was into so many extracurricular activities back when I was in my childhood. I had typical Indian parents, you see. I was into bhajan, Carnatic, dance and music. I was into swimming, public speaking, arts, pretty much everything you can even think of. So, I couldn't really master one particular course. So there is this say, right? Jack of all and master of nothing. I was being branded as this child who couldn't really pursue in one particular field. And when I started this YouTube, of course, people thought that I wouldn't really continue it. I would get bored, tired of it, and just come back, start with the next thing. For the first 2 months, I faced constructive criticism, even from my very own family, my friends, my neighbors. But then after 2 months, moving on, people realized that yes, she is going to continue it. And I only believe that that was only because of them realizing that I found my true happiness and that I'm consistent and that I wouldn't just step back from what I've taken and what I've been doing so far. That's why I always say that past is not equal to future. It doesn't mean that something which you did in the past didn't really work out, the same wouldn't work out in the future. Something which you might not really be good at today might be your biggest accomplishment tomorrow. To be very frank, I never really liked reading books at all, but then today I ended up writing one. So it all depends upon you. As I mentioned, and past is not equal to future. So something which you did in the past might have failed. It doesn't mean that the same would happen in your future. Now, taking this the other way around, past is not equal to future. Let me explain it. I'm going to share a story. Again, this is a very well-known company. A few years ago, this was ruling the mobile phone empire, and they vanished overnight. And the CEO of the company, quoted this: "We didn't do anything wrong, but then somehow we lost." I'm pretty sure you know the story already. So when all of the people around was thinking, why did this even happen? They ruled the whole mobile empire, now they've just vanished overnight. Everything came up to one single reason. They didn't invent anything new, right? Let me tell you people, there are 7 billion people on this planet. If you're not going to have an update, if you don't come up with new ideas, stick on to the same thing, someday, somewhere, someone is going to come up with new ideas and is going to steal your throne in no time. It's just like technology, right? It's evolving, it is updating every single second. The same way in life too, you can't hold on to the same thing and stick on to the same thing forever. And you never really know. Something which you did today might have, taken you to great heights, but it doesn't mean the same idea, the same strategy would take you to great heights tomorrow and day after tomorrow, just for the rest of your life. So past is not equal to future. And yes, I would also have to mention my experience. I realized this, I got feedbacks from people. First, I just started interviewing people. I thought it wasn't just efficient. I started writing for the Brain Feed High magazine, then I write for the Hindu School edition. I started, I did my first TED, then I thought it isn't sufficient. So I started doing sessions and seminars with schools, colleges, and forums. Then I did my second TED, and again, I still didn't think it was sufficient. I wrote a book. I am today representing the government of Tamil Nadu as a young nutritional ambassador, spreading awareness about nutrition to young children, to girl children, to adolescent people. So as I mentioned, past is not equal to future. Just don't hold on to the same thing and have a grades. Well, I would like to talk about youth empowerment and conclude. Youth empowerment. Well, I've been working towards youth empowerment for the past 1.5 years, and talking about youth empowerment, especially which could be the need of the heart, especially in a country like India, with having set 50% of the population as youth. Why just not bring in youth empowerment in India? As youth has solutions to every single problem which we can probably even think of. Just ignite the fire in them by providing the little bit of motivation which they require. And through interviewing these young people who've already succeeded at such a young age. So that was the main concept. I've been making productive progress, really happy to tell that. And age is just a number, and I request all of you to encourage more children and come up with new ideas to encourage youth empowerment, especially in a country like India. And finally, before I sign off, for things to change, I must change first, right? For all of these thoughts to begin with, we will have to change first. You change first, I change first, right? Well, if we just rely on the society, blame people around you, give out excuses, and just give out blames, excuses, and complaints about the scenario which has happened. Even I've been in that state, trust me. But then the moment I realized that if I change, things around me will automatically change, that's when I started becoming the true me and I started exploring more. So for things to change, I must change first, and always remember that. And for this to begin, the start is your first step. And for you to shoot your action, regardless of what it's going to end up you into, as I mentioned when I started the frog story, right? It's not about deciding to take that first step, rather it's about taking your first step. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm glad to tell you that this is my third TED Talk in GRIET. Thanks for the opportunity once again. Have a great day. Thank you.